Back at the corner garage, kid.
Let's go park over there. Oh, you want to? Should we get a picture of the tea kettle?
Yeah, do we have time?
No. That's it right there.
It's the tea kettle,
The
kid.
tea kettle. As I put my hand in the camera.
Right in
stay in this lane. Yeah.
All right.
Before we start today's show, please visit the sponsors, affiliates, and friends of the Stagecoach.
The Square Reviews, brutally honest product and travel reviews for red-blooded Americans by red-blooded Americans. Visit them at thesquarereviews.com.
TheGunFood.com has an extensive network of partners to connect you with your guns, ammunition, and firearm training. The Gun Food only sells ammo that they trust. Use RSWC as a discount code and save 5.56% on your order at thegunfood.com. PowerTac flashlights have combined premium craftsmanship, American ingenuity, and cutting-edge technology, creating a highly dependable tool that you can trust your life with. Go to powertac.com/RSWC and save 15% on your order. That's powertac.com/RSWC. Sabre Pepper Spray has been making grown men cry since 1975. Find the link in the show description and help get the Stagecoach across America with every Sabre Red purchase you make.
Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the Stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys are watching the show, and I really appreciate that you do watch the show. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. You can find the show on YouTube and on Gunstreamer and on Rumble-ish. Not so good about the Rumble, but that's the places you can find it. If you're listening to the show, you can listen to it on all of your favorite podcast outlets. Please download the show from there, and please share the show with your friends, because this is how we get the Stagecoach across America. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today is a very special Riding Shotgun with Charlie. I have a repeat passenger and my good friend Mike Harris from the Gun Owners Action League. Mike, what's happening?
Oh, a lot of things are happening.
A lot of things are happening. We are in the Bay State. As Jim Wallace likes to call it, the Second Amendment battleground. It's where freedom was once born, and now shall die.
It's where it was. It's the cradle and coffin of liberty.
The cradle and coffin of liberty. I like that. Not really, but you know what I mean.
know.
The alliteration is good.
It's a lovely saying, but the meaning behind it's a bummer.
It totally is. All right, so we are leaving. It is August 8th, 2024, and we are leaving the Goal headquarters in Westboro, Massachusetts, and we are headed to
Boston, Massachusetts.
We are headed to Boston. We are storming the
gates.
Storming Beantown.
Yeah.
All right, let's tell us about you and how you got involved in all of this.
Oh, man.
And then we're going to get to the good stuff.
So I am Mike Harris, obviously, I'm the Director of Public Policy for Goal. I was a longtime staffer up on Beacon Hill. I worked for a bunch of different Republicans, and then I worked for Charlie Baker. And then I decided...
I love that. A bunch of Republicans and Charlie Baker.
Well, you know.
Yes.
But then I decided I wanted to be on the other side of the table for a little while, and I've always been, you know, I didn't grow up shooting per se.
Right.
We didn't really have guns in the house, but I was an active Boy Scout. When I was a kid, I used to do a lot of shooting there, and I always enjoyed it. And I've always been, not that guns are political or it's supposed to be political, but I've always been, to the right of center.
Right.
And firearms have always been something I've been interested in, and now I'm here.
Look at you now.
Yeah, and it's the best gig ever. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Yeah.
Now you went to law school?
I did. I did indeed.
Right, and you are the Director of Legislative Affairs?
Public policy is what we call
Director
it.
of Public Policy.
Yeah. So our executive director, Jim, he called me and he said, hey, you got to come up with your own title. I was like, okay.
Nice.
I don't know what I'm going to do for that.
Right. Can I be the Lord, King, and Savior?
Yeah.
Right?
I was like, well, how grandiose can it get? I was like, I don't know, keep it simple. So I said, okay. I want to do legislative affairs because that's a little specific. So I just said public policy.
Public policy.
You know? It's a nice nothing term.
A little bit of word salad.
Yeah,
going
it
on.
works. It serves its purpose.
Very cool. Very cool.
But I'm one of the lobbyists. I work with Jim. I don't know how much longer we're going to be doing lobbying work per se, given
Right.
this bill, but
Right, and you said you spent a lot of your time listening to punk bands and getting into fights too. So that's
that
going to
is
come in
very
very
true.
handy as well.
Yes. Yeah, I grew up playing. I was in a bunch of hardcore and metal bands. Listened to a lot of that music in Boston. Went to
The Rat?
I never got to go to the Rat.
Really?
Yeah, most of the shows I went to were, the Middle East downstairs.
Downstairs at the Middle East. I played at the Middle East once.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it
It's
is pretty
awesome.
wild.
It's a fun venue. I like how the ceiling of the downstairs is about this high too.
Yeah, right.
You're right up against it.
Totally.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It was one of these things. I went to college in Boston for music, and you'd see all these people talk about doing shows at the Middle East,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing in the late '90s. I was teaching band in a public school, playing in a Motown disco funk band,
Awesome.
and we played in a ska band for fun.
I was gonna say, please tell me you played in a ska.
Yeah, I want. Of course, I would love to have played with the Boss Tones. A couple of guys in the Boss Tones are guys that I went to college with.
No way.
Yeah, I went to college with Dennis, the trombone player, and Kevin, the sax player.
That's
The two black guys in the band. I was in classes with them at Berkeley.
That's awesome.
Then, after I graduated college, I ended up back in Massachusetts, and I was playing in a band with this trumpet player. His name was Brian Dwyer, and Brian Dwyer played trumpet on the albums for the Boss Tones. So here it is, like ska is starting to become cool, and I was playing with this band called the Allstonians.
All right,
And-
that's a cool name.
Yeah, and one of the guys, the lead singer, he's like, dude, you are such a dichotomy. You're a public school teacher. You play in a Motown disco funk band. You play in a ska band. You wear earrings and have cowboy boots, and you listen to country music. Like, we can't figure out what's going on, man. I'm like, yeah.
Do we need to explain the reference that is the Allstonians?
Yes.
Is Alston, Massachusetts?
Alston.
I'm guessing?
We used to call it L.A. Lower Alston.
Lower Alston. Alston, Brighton. Lower
The Alston Brighton area, yes.
LA. That's good. But that was that the early 90s?
That was the late 90s.
Late 90s?
Yeah.
So that was when so if you went to those shows, that was like Big D and the Kids Table.
Big D and the Kids Table, I played a gig with them.
The Sellouts.
I don't remember the Sellouts.
Let me see. Spiff 45. Go 48. That was that like era when all the bands were like putting numbers at the end of their names.
Right.
Yeah.
Good times.
And then I knew a bunch of kids who had a band called the Four Bob Doles.
The Four Bob
Doles, yeah. And the drummer for that band went on to be the singer in a band called Guns Up that ended up exploding and being like a huge hardcore band. They like toured Europe and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my buddy
That's
Dan.
cool.
Yeah, way cool.
That is pretty way cool.
Yeah,
That's
awesome
all
stuff.
in our previous lives.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I always played guitar in metal bands.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
It is a good time.
Now we're here.
now we're here fighting for our rights, man. Holy
Oh,
moly.
dude.
All right,
It's
so
like the Beastie Boys told us to do.
well, we got to fight for our right to arm ourselves.
Yeah,
Which is ridiculous, of course.
it is ridiculous.
So let's talk about this nonsense bill. So the quick history for a lot of the folks, in the early 2023, this person, we'll call him a person.
He is one, technically.
State Representative Michael Day started this thing called the Gun Law Listening Tour,
Yes.
which was just sham from the beginning. I wrote about it a bunch on News 2A. I went to 8 of the 11 of these, and there were only 2 that I went away not feeling horrible. It was the one where John Green spoke and the one where John Pajak spoke. John
I
Pajak
felt good
spoke.
about the one. Were you with the one that Joe Morgan spoke at in Lowell too? He was pretty good at that one.
Joe was good. Absolutely.
I got to yell at Darren Klein.
That was
Remember
yes, that was
That
good.
was fun.
That was fun. But there were only a few I didn't feel horrible about.
Yeah, I agree.
The rest of them, you'd go home and felt like you needed to take a shower.
Well, it was always like a subject and guns.
Right.
Like something and guns.
Right. School shootings and guns.
Yeah.
Mental health and guns.
Exactly. Like they were trying to draw a nexus between guns and like all of these horrible things that were happening across the state. And, some of it was a stretch.
Oh my God.
And all of it was terrible. You're absolutely right.
All of it. Yeah. There was one lady that spoke up I think it was in New Bedford.
Oof.
Yeah, which is
that one of the affected communities ones?
Yes, yeah, one of the affected
like 3
communities.
of those.
She was a counselor. She's on this panel speaking about guns and whatever. And she's like, I don't know anything about guns, and I read today that a 15-year-old can get a shotgun and carry it around. And I'm like, you live in a fishing community with a bunch of illegal aliens. Is that really is really squirrel hunting your thing? Like, is this what all the 15-year-olds want to do? They want to go bird hunting?
Well, you know what the best thing about New Bedford is?
Leaving?
The view of Fairhaven. And the worst thing about Fairhaven is the view of New Bedford.
Right. I used to work with this guy. He's like, Webster, the gateway to Dudley.
Oh, Massachusetts is ridiculous. This is an absurd place to live.
It is. So we roll out of this 6 months of...
That's how we became friends, actually.
Yes.
We spent a lot of time doing after-action reports at bars.
Yes, the Mobile Green Tavern.
Oof.
So the gun law listening tours, Michael Day's like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're going to do. We're going to get visited by Gabby Giffords.
We don't know what we're going to do.
We don't know what we're going to do. She probably dropped off a hefty legal terms and what she wanted, and a big fat check is what I'm saying.
That's what I would imagine.
And
some of that Bloomberg money.
Yes, a lot of the Bloomberg money.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he's got a 141-page bill that he dropped a week after Bruin.
A week
after the 1-year anniversary of Bruin.
Yeah, and a week after the
gun laws done.
Tour
right.
ended.
This was done. They went until the beginning of June, and then
the entire time telling us that they had not started drafting language yet.
Unbelievable.
Which means somebody has the fastest fingers in the United States.
Right.
140 pages
141
in 2 weeks.
pages.
Come on.
Yeah, that's a bunch of crap.
That's wild.
A bunch of crap. So that comes out. One of the we finally awakened the gun owners in the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and somebody started putting up signs.
Paying attention.
Yes, started putting up signs.
4420.
Stop HD 4420. People start to call their legislators and write their legislators and do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And it really activated the entire 2A community in the state because this bill touched everybody.
Everybody and everything.
Exactly. That was always kind of the hardest part about getting people out there. I think if I can get off on like a tangent for like 2 seconds, I think gun owners as a rule are kind of our own worst enemy when it comes to advocacy work.
Right.
Because by being a firearms owner, you display a certain modicum of self-reliance or a desire to be self-reliant.
Right, a little bit of independence.
Exactly. And that, that means you want to be left alone a little bit. And as Garrett, the president of Goal, likes to say, he's like, we're never the aggressor in these situations. We're always the ones who are reacting to things.
Right.
So for the longest time, it's been really hard to get the hunters and a lot of the people who run the clubs in Massachusetts to really become active on this stuff because they're flying under the radar. Why are they going to bring attention to themselves and screw themselves in the long run? But this time, I mean, they went after everybody.
Yeah, so, everybody. It's not just the ARs and the high-cap magazines.
Yeah.
It's everything. They wanted to go after all sorts of firearms.
Every aspect of firearms ownership, from hunting to skeet and trap to target shooting to home defense, muzzle loaders. Oh yeah,
carrying,
this
training.
bill,
oh my God,
muzzle loaders. 509 primers are no longer exempt from or for if you're a felon, you have to register all that stuff. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, right?
It's nuts.
So the bill comes out last June,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to pass it by the end of July. People speak up. They
We shut them down.
we shut them down. I used to say this. I used to say, when I started to pay attention to politics, I said that if I ever run for office, my political slogan is going to be,
Don't do that.
no. My slogan was going to be, I'm putting my foot down and my finger up.
Which one?
The tall one.
Oh, I don't know. This one's pretty cool too.
We need that one. So, so people got involved, called their reps, wrote to them, said this was all nonsense.
Yeah.
And they
Thank
didn't.
you, but no.
Yes, exactly. And they didn't pass it.
To paraphrase FPC.
They didn't pass it, but they said we would put it on hold and we would revisit it.
Redraft it.
Right. And then they changed the number they said, what was it, the Thursday before Columbus
Day.
Indigenous Peoples Day?
Yeah, I was sitting at the I was working the gold booth at the Topsfield Fair.
Oh, nice.
And the bill comes out, and I'm looking at it on my phone like, I need to get out of here and read this thing.
So they dropped the bill on a Thursday. They said they were going to vote on it on a Tuesday after a 3-day weekend.
Yep.
It's very strategic.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, they said they were going to have a public hearing on the Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So they called this is where it gets wild. So at Goal, like during the middle of this process, I went to Jim and I said, hey, Jim, I have about 12 years of experience in this stuff. You have about 20. Have you ever seen them do anything like this? He said, no, this is out of control. Because what they had done was they had called a special meeting or a special joint meeting with House Ways and Means and House Judiciary, which is where the bill was the Judiciary. And they basically, and that's unusual because Ways and Means doesn't really meet like that. They meet about twice a session to go over the budget because that's where money bills start, is in House Ways and Means. That's how it works. Bills that involve like levying of taxes and raising funds and doing money stuff only come from the House. They can only come from House Ways and Means. Gotcha. So they're the only branch, they're the only chamber that could have done this. So they called a special meeting with those two committees, went back in time, took a bill that had gone through 3 of the steps of the legislative process in the House, hollowed it out. It was a supplemental budget bill, hollowed it out, stuck this language in it, and came back and pretended it had always been there. So it had already gone through first and second reading. It was heading into third reading, and all it needed to do was just get to the floor to be engrossed, which is when they pass it and send it over to the other chamber.
Right.
So they basically cut off half the legislative process by holding an unusual hearing. And it wasn't something that's against the rules or illegal. It's just Goal was supposed to be nonpartisan, but traditionally there's one party that's a little more friendly to our cause than the other.
Right.
And the other party has a bit of a hypermajority in Massachusetts, as I like to call it. Yeah. And they have the numbers to do whatever they want. So all the stuff they do is not against the rules or illegal.
Right.
It's just nobody's there to say, hey, wait a second.
Right. Uno momento, por favor.
So they do that. They bring it up and they bring it to the floor a week later and vote on it and pass it and send it over to the Senate. Who then comes up with we forgot to mention the House version when it came out. The
3 different numbers?
Yeah, a whole bunch. It went through
3 different numbers in 2 days?
Yeah, something like that. And then when it got to the floor, it had 2 numbers on the floor too. And then they finally passed it and it got a third. But when the House version came out, the Mass Chiefs of Police Association unanimously voted not to support the bill.
Right, because
the membership unanimously voted not to.
Because one of the things that took away from the police was their ability to carry while they're off duty.
Yep, all of their exemptions were gone. It was a pretty wild. Bill. It was a gigantic overreach, a huge, just burdensome, self-referential piece of gun control wish list nonsense.
There we go. Gun control wish list nonsense.
Yep.
The police. Not that I'm for the police having special privileges, but I'm for them being like everyone. Yeah, of course. but I'm for them being like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Particularly when it comes to purchasing, because we have an approved firearms roster.
Oh, yeah.
Which are guns that you can have, but the police can have guns that are not on the approved firearm roster. And we can buy guns that are not on the approved firearm roster, and we can possess them. We just can't get them from a dealer.
You can't get them from a licensed dealer.
Which is so screwy.
So if you hold an FFL, you can have them in stock, but if you have a Massachusetts firearms dealer's license, you can't sell them to Massachusetts firearms
license
Massachusetts
holders.
LTC holders.
Right.
Yeah. So, long story, continuing to get longer.
Yes. So October, that passes the House.
Yep.
Goes to the Senate. The Senate sits around until what, like February?
Something like that. Because it wasn't one of the Senate president's priorities.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it comes up, and the one of the things that I was perturbed by is seeing
the open-ended vagueness of the whole thing.
That too. I didn't know who Bruce Tarr was.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He has a Republican after his name.
Gave me my first job out of college. I worked for him for a long time.
Yeah.
Continue.
It seemed like he was fighting against it until it came to vote, and then he voted for it.
Voted for it. And then we had another Republican on the floor. There are only 4 Republicans out of 40 in Massachusetts, by the way, in the Senate. There's only 4 Senate Republicans in the entire Senate. So.
Unbelievable.
And one of them got up and said, Patrick O'Connor got up and said, I believe in the assault weapons ban. I think it is doing good things. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Whew. If you need, if you got friends like these, who needs enemies?
Who needs enemies?
That
For
kind
sure.
Of that kind
for
of a
sure.
saying, but
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah. So the House gets up. They ended up voting on it and passing it, and then they had to have a special committee of 6 people.
Yep.
3 from each side.
Yeah. So it's a conference committee. So when the Senate was first deliberating, they were talking about coming out with their own version. We met with a few different members of the Senate to kind of go over our priorities and what we wanted and how upset we were with the House and how it made it to the floor was kind of our big thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were did that whole Process Matters campaign for a
Right.
little while.
Yeah.
Where we talked about how absurd it was that they suspend. One of the rules for the legislature is that you can suspend the rules. So when you have the numbers like they have, it basically just means there's no rules.
Right.
So we were kind of wondering what was going to happen with the Senate version because they were saying all along, they're like, we do not like the House version. We don't like the way that they did it. We want to come up with our own language and go through the proper way. So we said, okay, cool. That means another public hearing. And it means a new bill number from the Senate. We don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be an S number. Excuse me. And then... So we say, oh, well, how are they going to conference something that's going to be 2 different bills? It's going to be the Senate's version is going to be something else entirely. So how are they going to come out with this? So we were kind of a little hopeful that the Senate would kind of do their own thing and it would be hard for them to kind of square that circle.
Right.
Sorry, I just breathed in something. I'm choking. And so we're trying to figure out how they're going to square that circle. But instead of doing that, they just said, oh, we're going to take the House's number and just submit this as an amendment to the House's bill. So that way, when they submit, what they do is they'll just take up the bill, strike the language, replace it with their language, and then just submit it as their version of House Bill 4139 or whatever, 4135 at the time.
Right.
And so at that point, it becomes conferenceable, and they don't have to hold a public hearing.
Wow. Those shysters.
Jesus. Yeah, so they don't have to hold a public hearing at that point. And sorry, you can edit out my choking fit, right?
Sure.
Or should I turn it this way?
That's right. Very strategic ad placement.
I did that on
Let me have my drink.
Yeah, I did that on Cam's show.
I did, yes. I
did that on
appreciate
purpose.
that.
I went like this and drank it sideways. But yeah, so it made it so that they didn't have to hold a public hearing, and they could just kind of scoot it to the conference committee. So they eventually impaneled the conference committee on the House version, submitted the members over to the Senate. The Senate said, okay, we'll play ball, and submitted their own slate of conferees.
Mm-hmm.
And it took them about a week and a half to do it, though, which we were like, oh, what's going to happen?
Right.
And they finally did it, and then they came out with this version of the bill, which ended up being,
4885?
Yeah, House 4885. And once it comes out of conference committee, it means that it just goes to the two chambers for an up or down vote. As long as leadership decides that it should get one, it will go on the docket for the next formal session. They'll get to do their self pats on the back, and then it's a straight up or down vote on the bill itself.
Yep.
Oh my God! I breathed something in earlier, like some dust.
That's not good.
All right.
I did clean the car.
No, I don't think I think it was something that came in. Perfect timing, makes my voice sound wonderful.
That's right.
So it gets out to the making a lot of editing work for you here. So it gets out.
The only thing that hits the editing room floor are my feet.
All right, perfect. So the bill comes out of conference committee. It goes to the House floor and the Senate floor. They self-congratulate themselves, and then they vote on it. So this bill came out on July 17th. The final version didn't come out until 8 p.m. that night.
Right.
And they were scheduled to vote on it the next day at 1 p.m.
Unbelievable.
They called a special session of the House to vote on it the same day as the Senate did. And then they had a race during the day to vote on it first. So the House held their vote first at 1, and the Senate held theirs at 1:15 or something stupid like that. Yeah.
Now, this version was only, 116 pages?
116, a mere 116 pages. Yeah.
Of gobbledygook.
Of gobbledygook.
I tried reading through it, and it's making references to other bills and strike these
it makes
words.
reference to itself a lot. That's the problem that I had with reading it. It's very self-referential.
Right.
So when it's referring to a chapter and section of Mass General Law, it doesn't mean what's on the books now. It means the new version that's in their bill. So you have to go back to whatever section they amended that in the bill, read what it says now for that version, and then you have to go back to the current version and check that to see what that says.
Right. So Michael Day, I do remember him pushing this and saying he wants to strike everything and start over with a clean slate.
Yeah, and we were cool with that.
Right. Let's start with a clean slate. What do we get out of this? Well, we get nothing.
We get simplification. That's what we were supposed to get. We didn't even get that.
No, it's not simple.
No.
It's not. So it comes out on the 17th. They vote on it on the 18th.
The 18th.
And
Laura Healy signed it on the 25th.
What ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Now, here's some of the stuff that we found confusing. It said this was supposed to take place August 1st. And then people are like, no, it goes through August 1st.
Yeah.
So now August 2nd is when it takes place. And they're like, no, it's 90 days from when she signed it. So now it's October 23rd.
Yeah, so there are certain dates in the bill that are effective dates, essentially. Most bills, when they're passed and when they're signed by the governor, they go into effect 90 days after the day the governor signs them. That's the rule, unless there's an emergency preamble, which makes it go into effect immediately.
Right.
This didn't have one of those, so any provision without a specific date within it, it goes into effect October 23rd.
October 23rd,
yeah.
right. So didn't I saw some stuff online because I got to say this, man. I've seen a lot of people posting on a lot of the pro-gun Facebook groups, and the half of the stuff is what is gold doing for us, and then the next thing somebody will say, don't join them, blah blah blah. This waste of money, this and this, a lot, and then someone will turn around. And I never know if it's the same person because I don't pay that much attention. And they'll turn around and say, well, does it mean this? And I swear to God, I've wanted to write something and just say, if you're a Gold member, check their website. They have a summary. If you're not a Gold member, then here's a link to the bill. Figure it out yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's been kind of the hard part. But
so some people are saying that there's some retroactive stuff. So even though the law doesn't kick in until October 23rd, that even though when it kicks in, then they're going to go back to August 1st.
Yeah, essentially. So the assault weapons ban goes into effect August 1st. So, my argument, I don't know if this is shared by everyone at Goal, but my interpretation of the bill was that everything that you've had in your possession until or through August 1st is perfectly legal for you to possess, transfer, use, whatever. Magazines are another thing altogether. The large cap mags, as I like to call them, even if they're pre-banned, pre-94, you have to leave them in your house unless you're going to the range. That's the only place you can use them. And if you're going to the range, while they're being transported, they need to be locked in a container and unloaded. Sad.
Well, there's I love this scene. I wish I was smart enough to know how to do this, but there's a scene from one of my favorite movies called After Hours, where Griffin Dunne ends up meeting a woman, and he needs to make a phone call from her apartment. And she lets him pick up the phone and put it down. So he explains it. He's like, she let me use her phone. I could pick it up and put it down. I couldn't make a phone call. This is exactly, you can have ICAP magazines. You just can't take them anywhere. You can't do anything with them, and you got to have them unloaded. Yep. Well, what's the sense? What's the sense?
I mean, I guess it's the convenience of not having to load as often at the range.
My reason for having pre-94 high-cap mags is because bad guys have friends. Bad guys don't follow the rules. Oh, that's a given, of course, but we can't bring that up. Bad guys have friends. So when someone breaks in your house, it's 2 or 3 guys, not one. So anyway.
So today, we should talk about what we're doing right now.
Today. So there's been a lot of hoopla. Toby Leary, former guest on a former passenger in the Stagecoach. Yeah. Toby Leary from Cape Gun Works has been doing videos every day. He's been on WRKO a lot of times with Howie Carr and with Grace Kelly. And is it Grace Kelly?
Yeah.
Grace Curley. Grace Curley. Whoops.
Grace Kelly.
She was a dancer. He's been on with.
Wasn't she also a princess? Grace Kelly? I think she was.
I don't know.
I think the princess. She was like the Princess of Monaco or something. Anyways, here and there.
Right. So Toby's been on. There's been a lot of talk about doing a referendum. Based
to Toby. Well, so me and Jason Gaida were on Toby's show the night that the bill came out. I was still right before I went on with you.
Yeah, you were on another show.
I was on with Toby and Jason Gaida, and Jason Gaida kind of mentioned it offhand. And Toby called me afterwards, and he was like, "Is this something we should do?" I was like, "I'm already looking into it, bro.
Right?
We're doing this." So
nice.
We convinced. We had a little bit of reservation because we were worried about like the vote at the end. Like, if we lose, what's that going to do to everything else we're working on? But whatever. This will give all the gun shops and everybody a reprieve for a while if we can get it postponed. Right. And plus, there's always the possibility that we can win this thing. I mean, it's why not? Why wouldn't we shoot for it? So, but yeah, Toby's been going on and on with this. We're actually going to go meet him in the city and bring in his camera guy.
Nice.
So excited. But
these lucky guys with camera guys. I'm setting up my own cameras, doing my own editing.
Your windshield is your camera guy.
Right.
And your hood.
In my hood.
Hey, man.
I got a hood cam.
Yeah. These are pretty.
Which, by the way, we're not.
Setup.
I decided we are not going to take the. We're not going to take the Prue Tunnel. We're going to take Storrow Drive.
Storrow?
Hopefully, no one will be stuck on Storrow Drive. It's over. 11 and a half feet or something.
It's not moving day.
It's not moving day. Right. Yeah. Give it a few weeks.
Have you seen Trillium came out with that beer? It's called Storrow. And one of the ads they did was
they sell them in short cans.
No, right. No, they had a Trillium truck drive underneath the bridge on purpose to get smashed. And that's one of the things they use for like their
promo. Yeah, that's a little expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, Toby's going to be there. We got the referendum.
Yep. So what it is it's basically 2 petitions. So the initial petition is we had to get 10 registered voters' signatures, and they have to submit voter registration certificates. I got to get yours from you, by the way. Excellent.
Here it is. I'll block out your address. I'll block out my address. Right.
So we had to get 10 signatures for that, and we had to submit our own language of what we want to do. So what our intentions are is to repeal the bill, or repeal the law at this point, because now it's Chapter 135 of the Acts of 2024. That's the official name of the act at this point. It's no longer a bill. It's now currently a statute. So what this would do is if we gather enough signatures from across, all 14 counties, we will be able to repeal the bill. And if we gather enough signatures and submit them before the deadline, it will actually put the bill on. It will actually put the law on hold until the next time the referendum can appear on a statewide ballot.
Gotcha.
I don't think so. You have to submit it within 60 days of a statewide election for it to appear on that election. I don't think we're going to make that deadline. I don't know if we have.
It's like what, 88 days right now?
Yeah, it's 88 days right now, and on top of that, the Attorney General has 14 days to return the summary to the Secretary of State's office, which is going to appear on the referendum signature sheets.
Right. I'm sure they're not going to be in a rush to do it.
No, but there's benefits to them rushing it out, because if we do make it to this ballot, then the reprieve only lasts the 90 days that come up until the next election, which is in November. So this way, if we get the right amount of signatures, we can get this thing in, and we're allowed to suspend it. It could be suspended for 26 months at this point. So we wouldn't be getting there until 2026.
Gotcha.
So what we're doing right now is we are going to the Secretary of the Commonwealth's office to submit the initial petition. We have our I think we have 15 signatures on there right now.
Nice.
Well, actually, no, you were number 14.
I was number 14.
Garrett is about to be number 15.
Nice.
Our president goal. And then we're going to submit that to the Secretary of the Commonwealth's office. They're going to review it for us and hopefully accept it. And then from there, it will go to the AG's office. The AG will have, like I said, 14 days to send a summary back to the Secretary of State's office, at which point the Secretary of State's office will then have to produce signature sheets for us with that summary on it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able to reproduce those. They have to be very specific.
So people have to be registered voters.
Yes, you have to be registered voters. You have to, and you can only sign on the sheet that is assigned to your town. There can't be any extraneous marks. They have to be on a certain size paper. They have to be double-sided, flipped a certain way. There's a lot to it. So
what?
Yeah. So
a ridiculousness.
Yeah. So we're going to be working with some point people in different regions. I think. Do you know Wayne Adams from Mass Conservation Alliance?
I do not.
He is a guy who can get things done. So we're working with him to kind of get. He works with a ton of clubs throughout the entire state, and he does a lot of work in Worcester. And then John Mawhinney, he's the guy from Cape Cod. He works with Toby a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to be, he's part of the Cape Cod County League.
Okay.
And then we're working with the Worcester County League, and we're trying to coordinate folks who are going to be kind of the, like the point people for, distributing and receiving those signature sheets. And we're going to be working with a ton of retailers to have stacks and stacks of them all over the place. And, hopefully we can get we're shooting for about 75,000.
Right.
We need 49,000. But, we figure an extra 50% is probably
not going to be bad.
Probably the sweet spot.
Right.
So,
the little buffer zone.
Yeah. Because you never know, they can reject sheets for whatever reason.
Do they? I've heard they reject if there's a wrong name. They reject the whole sheet.
Yeah, you can reject the whole sheet.
The whole sheet.
Yep.
That is a bunch of sheet.
Yes, agreed. It's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
It's horse bullshit.
It is. All right, here we are on Starro Drive, man.
We are on Starro Drive.
Starro Drive.
Boston's racetrack.
Yes. I love Starro Drive. There's no lights.
Nope. None. There's no rules.
There's no rules.
And I always tell people when they drive into Boston, they're like, "Oh, I'm nervous to go in there." I'm like, "Don't be nervous. Just point your car where you want it to go and go there. Just pretend there's no lane lines.
Yeah. It doesn't
it's fluid. You just point your car where you want to go and you'll get gas. there. Yeah.
It's very much like going through Kelly Square in Worcester.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes, it's exactly like that.
It is, but a little bit longer.
Yeah. Worcester's its little sister. A little bit less problems.
Totally. I'll tell you why I like Starro Drive. When you're coming in the opposite direction, and you're down by the hatch shell, it's one of those areas where the ground looks like it's lower than the water, so you turn and look to the right, and it looks like the water's above you.
It's very cool. And you drive
pretty cool.
all the way along the Esplanade, too.
All the way along the Esplanade.
Which is Boston, or except for the Emerald Necklace, is Boston's premier public park, I would say.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Because I used to work for DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation.
Yeah.
I was Ron Swanson. I was a registered libertarian working for the Parks Department. It was awesome.
That's great, man.
But it's DCR properties. We used to be out there all the time, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know all of this was here.
That's great. That's great. When on the other side,
Cambridge,
People's
Republic.
I used to. I'd finish gigging. I played at the bottom of the Prudential, and I would finish gigging. I would go over to Cambridge. You could park. They had like a parking lane, a parking row on Memorial Drive, and I would go there and finish my night off, have a cigarette, look at the view of Boston, and then drive back to my crappy apartment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good times.
What is Kenmore? Kenmore Square was a good spot to go to.
Kenmore Square was always fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dude, there's a lot of spots around. Oh, there's Tom Brady, one of Tom Brady's buildings over there.
Oh, nice.
I forget which one. Remember that one when there was that fire where the that firefighter unfortunately died? He was out here like on his balcony watching the fire happen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
All right, so we're almost at our destination.
We're getting there.
What else do we need to know? So this new bill, the new law, it affects everything. I'm
everything.
As an instructor, I'm worked up about the training nonsense.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna, and I don't have a problem with any. I don't want to say I don't have a problem with any of the stuff that's in it. I do. The problem is making it a requirement to have all these different aspects of the training. So you have to have injury prevention. Injury prevention to me should be the three rules of gun safety. You have to have suicide prevention. You have to have
disengagement training.
Disengagement training. I said this on cam last week when I was on. Disengagement training. I Googled it. The first thing that came up for disengagement training. Are we getting off here? Or?
No.
Oh, let's stay here. All right. The first thing that came up as disengagement training. I love this here. We're trying to fix the lighting situation. It's only a little section of the Storrow Drive tunnel here. The disengagement training, two things I found. The first one was pathological worry disengagement.
Okay.
And the other one was...
What is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
The other one was disengagement training for your dog. Yeah. So they probably mean...
don't put your hand in its mouth when it's trying to bite another dog?
I guess so. I don't know. So they probably mean de-escalation, but they call it disengagement because they're...
Disengagement training is a pair of running shoes. I mean, what the hell?
I have a friend that says he likes to have what he calls knock, knock, bang. So you can figure that out. That's like a little disengagement.
All right, yeah. I mean, that sounds like a certain type of raid. But, you know.
Right. Only if you're head of security at the airport in Atlanta.
Exactly. Oh man, Toby is calling me. Do I take it on camera?
Yes, take a call. Ladies and gentlemen.
Toby Leary.
Toby Leary, you're on the air.
Yeah. Toby, what's up, man?
What's up? Oh, Charlie, good to see you. Are you guys in the middle of recording?
Yeah, but it's not a big deal. This is it's all about
it's all about
today.
this.
You're part of what's going on today.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be a part of it, and hello to everybody on Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
Yeah, this is Toby Leary, everybody. We were talking
Toby
about
Leary.
Yeah.
I'll put his name and number up here.
My ears were burning.
Nice.
Quick question.
Sure.
Is Max going to be able to get in with all his backpack and equipment and all that, or should we leave all that in the car?
I think he should be fine. I don't know. That's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that. Does he have just like one? Can you bring like one camera up?
Yeah, light. Yeah, you can go light.
Yeah, I think just go light. That's probably the best way to do it.
All right.
Instead of like mob heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to have him print like a ChatGPT press pass and come in with credentials.
Nice.
Perfect.
All right,
cool.
Well, we'll see you guys there.
Sounds
All right,
good.
sounds good, man.
See you, man. Bye.
All right.
Ooh, Garrett's texting me. He's in already too. Everybody's
behind.
already there. It's crazy, man.
All right. So hopefully we'll get some video while we're there.
Yep.
Everybody should go to. This battery's about to die, so we gotta wrap it up.
Go to gold.org.
Gold.org/gunban is where you can get all the information. People do need to be members of the Gun Owners Action League. Goal is the only group in Massachusetts that is they're first of all, they're the NRA affiliate, but they're the only pro-gun group that is working in Massachusetts. So you do need to support them. So do become a member, and if you have extra money you can donate, please do. I interviewed Tom King. It took the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association $2.5 million to get the case to the Supreme Court. Yeah. So people do need to donate there. There's a lot of people that said they're not going to do anything, and what's Gold doing? And Gold doesn't really ask for money. There's the raffle.
Yeah, we have the raffles. We take donations, but we don't it's not our fundamental way to get there.
Right, and it's not. Yeah. The other thing is, it's not a legislative group, right?
Well, we're moving we're moving in another direction though. I think we're kind of moving a little bit towards litigation at this point.
All right, very cool. Because it's like the primary job was it or was it not getting involved?
Our primary job was legislation. We were always our job was to prevent things from happening.
Gotcha.
At the state legislative level.
Right.
And then if they ended up happening, we would, work with attorneys and other groups to get those cases moving. But at this point, we're kind of switching gears.
Gotcha.
Because what we talked about earlier, it's the hypermajority in the Massachusetts legislature where we're just outnumbered.
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
is what it is. And unless we get people to start voting differently, across every county in the state, it's going to stay this way.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to fight it after the fact. And, on top of the fact that we are in order to get any type of, solid precedent, it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time because we are in the least friendly circuit court of appeals. I mean, the First Circuit Court of Appeals is absolute misery.
Yeah.
So, even on the federal level, we have a tough time in the state moving forward with this stuff. Yeah,
there's part of the issue in Massachusetts is we have a lot of people that are closet gun owners that don't want to come out, and they don't want to put up yard signs that are pro Second Amendment or pro anti-democrat.
Pro non-democrat.
There we go. So people don't want to do this, and they don't want to speak out, and obviously it is, but man, people really need to come out of the woodwork to get involved, to stop this stuff from happening. One of the things that I like to say is that the people that want to go hunting don't want to carry concealed. The people that carry concealed don't want to go hunting.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what's going on with the shotgunners. Right? Because these guys are full of, they're going after your assault weapons. They're not going to come after our double barrel shotgun.
Guess what?
They are. They're on the list.
Yep, this bill touches everyone.
Everything and everyone.
Yeah.
So we're going to put a link to Gold in there. I'm going to put a link to the show that we did.
Yeah.
That we did on, I think it was on the 17th.
Yeah, because I was up till 2:30 in the morning.
Welcome to Boston, Cat. Hunk your horn.
Go yourself.
Go hunk yourself.
Yeah, I was up till like 2:30 in the morning working on that summary, which it was a little. Our first version that came out was a little flawed, but it was because we were up till they released it at 8 p.m. and they were voting on it the next day.
Yeah,
and
so
got done as fast as we could.
There's new stuff that Goal is discovering all the time, like the serialization. So the serialization, it has to be something that you can't remove.
Yeah. But
all of the manufacturers usually engrave in a little piece of metal a serial number. Well, if you have access to that serial number, you can file it off.
It's coming off.
It's coming off, exactly.
This bill is like a rotten onion. Like it's every single layer of it is just garbage. And we just keep digging through it.
Yeah, it's completely
terrible.
nuts.
It's a bad bill. It's not really written very well either.
Shocking.
I just think it's funny. So, we would call up Day's office and other places, and we'd ask them questions about stuff when they were still talking to us, and they wouldn't seem to have an answer. They wouldn't really know what's in it.
Right.
And, I maintain that they didn't write it. It was written by Giffords or every town or one of those.
Right.
And given the fact that this version of the bill is such a departure from the House version and the Senate version, I think this is the first time that Day read his own bill, was in the conference committee.
Probably. I mean, because this is even stuff that came up after the bill came out. I remember we were talking about this, and you're like, "This is what's in there." He's like, "No, it's not. No, it's like the frickin' it's like the ragu, man. It's in there, right?" As we're not far from the north end, it's in there. It's in there. It says in there. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It is.
I mean, we got a couple of things wrong in our initial
reading,
review of this stuff, but that was only because, we had hours to go through it before we were voting on it. We wanted to make sure our folks could see it. So we're constantly updating our summary as we get, as we go through it multiple times. We're hearing from, our members and non-members who are reaching out to us and saying like, "Hey, I think you guys might have gotten this wrong." They don't really say it that nicely most of the time. But, and we're taking all that stuff into consideration to adjust our summary and analysis, because a lot of times somebody will point something out and we'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, we might've got that wrong." Like the EBT card thing with the way our initial read was that people were going to be allowed to purchase ammo with their EBT cards.
Right.
And we were like, "Holy crap, what the hell?" But what we didn't realize was it was related to the new licensing scheme for sellers, for retailers. They combined an ammo seller's license with a firearm retailer's license and got rid of the ammo retailer's license altogether. Oh my God. So what they were doing was they were going through the law and just removing references to the ammo sellers. But if it's 2:00 in the morning and you're bleary-eyed reading through that,
you've been reading this for 6 hours.
What are they doing?
Nuts.
So, it took a little slap on the wrist from the legislature for us to fix that one. But, that's what happens when you have a couple of hours to go through it.
To get it done.
Yeah.
Craziness.
So, it's a little nuts.
All right, listen, let's wrap things up. So everyone should go to goal.org/gunban. You can donate. You can join Goal particularly if you're in Massachusetts, you need to join Goal. Even if you're not in Massachusetts, you can join Goal and help out. Goal.org and goal.org/gunban is where you can read the summary of the bill. Mike, thank you so much for being on.
Oh, yeah.
This is always a pleasure. I love it. You're like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?"
Do
you want to drive me to Boston and sign the referendum and submit the papers? Yes, I do. I absolutely do.
Do you want to become an enemy of the state with me?
Yes, I do. Anyway, so if you are not a member of the Gun Owners Action League, goal.org is where you join. If you're not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, SAF.org is where you can join that. You can check out all the shows on the Self-Defense Radio Network at SDRN.US, Self-Defense Radio Network. And thank you guys for watching the show. We shall see you soon.